Brought to you by the Every Dollar app. Start budgeting for free today.
So I'm an 18-year-old, and I'm a senior in high school this year, and I wanted pretty much advice on what to tell my parents about college. I've been watching you guys for a while now, and I know the biggest thing was, don't go into debt, don't take out loans if you can, try and cash flow it. So I figured I would want to go to a cheaper school. I was in Massachusetts, so it's community college is free. So I figured I would go there, and I could transfer to a state school where it's an 100% acceptance rate out of the community college I want to go to. And my parents were very against this idea. They wanted me to go play a sport in college and go to a private university. They told me that debt doesn't matter. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was making the right decision because they don't agree with it.
Are they paying for it?
I went to community college. No, they're not paying for it.
Yeah, they don't get a vote then.
I brought that up, but they said they're going to be kicking me out, so I'll have to pay for housing. They also take the car and my phone away.
I mean, if they want to throw a grown-up temper tantrum, that's like the most babyish thing I've ever.
Wait, I want to know more. Why? That feels very extreme. It's one thing if your parents kind of turn their nose up at community college because they're very educated. New England,
totally get that.
Yeah. It's oh my gosh, can't believe you're going to go to community college, but to kick you out and take your car and your phone. I mean, that's a.
Or if they said,
is there a religious element to this? Like to go to a Catholic school? No. I don't know, or any level of a religion conviction there.
No, I don't really understand why. They just said it would look bad on resumes, and they think I'm making the wrong decision. They said I was being pretty rude about it, so I think that's why.
Well, if I have no problem with the parents saying, "Hey, as for me and my house, you're going to this school, and we're paying for it. And if you want to go somewhere else, you're on your own." I have no problem with that at all. That happens all the time. And if they say, "Hey, in this house, we go to Harvard, and so we've created this fund, and you're going to Harvard if you get in," I have no problem with that. If they tell you, you will not go to that school that you can afford, which is free, you will go take out loans and put yourself behind for the next 15 years of your life or 20 years of your life, depending on what private school you go to. And if you don't do that, we're going to take your cell phone. We're going to take our ball and we're going to go home. We're not playing with you anymore. That just sounds like real childish, immature behavior. Because what they're doing is they're asking you to have all the skin in the game, and they're just going to sit on the sidelines and holler at you.
I thought the same thing. I don't really know what their plan was for it.
Is this out of character for them? Were you shocked by this, or is this I could see mom and dad doing this?
I already knew that they didn't want me living there after I was 18. They said they would help me out a little bit before. It was definitely out of character for them to once they kind of said my mom said I could keep the car. My dad was very against keeping the car after that. But
were you being a jerk, dude? Were you being an 18-year-old just like a turd, or were you being kind and thoughtful?
I will admit, for the first 30 minutes talked about this, I was very kind and peaceful, and then I started to. I wasn't as nice as I should have been to them.
All right, I spent my whole career working with 18-year-olds. Go tell your parents you're sorry.
All right.
Go be a respectful 18-year-old son and say, "Hey, I got fired up and I acted like a kid, and I'm sorry. I do not want to go into debt for college, and I respect I respect you want your kids. You want to be able to tell your friends that your kid graduated from this college, and I get that you don't like this.
Don't say that. That's disrespectful, isn't it?
I know. That was me just having a little bit of a mommy dig. But she wants to be able to go to bridge club and tell well, my kid is. And Rachel, we used to call it the soccer mom scholarship. I worked at one university. We would lose students. We would give somebody a half scholarship. Or I'm sorry. The tuition was, I'm making up a number, $20,000.
Yeah. And
they would go to another school that cost $50,000, but they got a $1,000 JV soccer scholarship, and we would lose them, which is it's a $30,000 a year move, or $120,000 move
to play JV soccer.
So that parents could be like, oh, my kid's playing on a soccer scholarship.
Yeah.
Right. It costs them money, like six figures. Right.
It's $1,000 scholarship.
But I would tell your parents you're sorry, and then you have to make an 18-year-old decision.
Right. Yeah. And Torrin, let me say this too.
Okay.
And John's the education
nerd.
He loves education, so he can maybe back me up on this. Just for perspective. So you're in Boston, and we have friends that came from that area, and the way even the Northeast, I would say even specifically, the way they view education, there is a high
premium,
high regard. It is everything. When you come to in the South. It's important.
Say it, Rachel.
It's important, but it's not life. Like there's a belief of like you can scratch and claw and start a business and be as successful as the guy that has the college degree. Like, or that, I mean, whether you go to college or not, there's kind of a micro, like just kind of get in there and you figure it out and you can still be successful, but it doesn't have this air about it, which I'm not saying all New Englanders have that, but I do think as an 18-year-old that's growing up in that environment, I mean, you're in Boston, like so just know there's a world outside of that. Not that we have it right necessarily. I'm not saying that, but you can be successful. You can meet people and network outside of a college. Like, there are ways to live life that is not one path of just, it has to be this prestigious education. If you don't get this, it's going to look bad on resumes. You're never going to get a job. You're going to be homeless and you're going to die. Like, that's not the route. That's not right. So just know there is more to life outside of possibly the bubble in which education is talked about in your family.
And for whatever it's worth, dude.
But John loves it. So
I
maybe
love it, but I've got a I think one of the most mission-minded institutions in the United States can be found inside of community colleges. And for whatever it's worth, my mom, Dr. Deloney, the first Dr. Deloney was my mother, who graduated in her 50s with her PhD, started at a community college as a tenured full professor, right? So here's what you can do with a community college education, anything you want to.
Yep.
Period. Maybe you have to work harder to get job number one. Fine. But by the way, you're going to transfer out, right? You'll go to a state school or to a private, wherever you end up on a transfer out, right?
There's there's a program called Mass Transfer, and it guarantees acceptance as well as some other scholarships as long as you maintain a certain grade point average in community college.
Man,
that's good. And
you're right on, brother.
And and for fun too, Torrin, like just run some numbers on the ROI of the private college that you'd go into debt for. Average interest rate on a student loan, how long that would probably take you to pay off if you got out of school with an average, maybe an above average salary, let's say. Run those numbers out, having to repay that, starting in a financial hole, significantly, 6 figures probably for this school, versus getting through it debt-free, doing the free community college, working, saving up, graduating from state school, starting off and starting to invest the moment you get your first paycheck because you're going to have money and not be in a hole. Financially, from the math perspective, who comes out ahead?
Oh, yeah.
So
especially get started.
All right.
Yeah.
And for
Good
everybody
for you,
listening,
Torrin. I'm proud of you for think outside the box, but be nice to your parents.
be respectful. Treat your parents with dignity. And for everybody, I love private schools. I've worked at multiple private schools. I would love for my kids. I love private schools. I just don't like parents lobbing grenades at their kids and saying, "Hey, to prop us up, you go do this thing that's going to cost you 10, 20 years of your life for making us feel good." I don't like that.
Yeah.
Create your free every dollar budget today, the simplest way to budget for your life.